Hey guys.
Hey, everybody.
Good time of day. Hello.
We continue to exist, right?
We do indeed, but not to the level of requirement. As stipulated, I haven't had a time to review all of the list of proposals. We have until the actual meeting, the scheduled one about core review. Or is that too long a deadline? Does it need to be done sooner?
We're jumping right in, right? Tex?
Yeah. Honestly, some of it should have already been done. Because
Apologies.
No. You're good. I'm gonna take some flack on this one, but there are, I think, 6 or 8 that need to be reviewed by 11 my time, which is 3 hours from now. Because
Can any of
today-
those be any of those be done on this call, or are they too lengthy to be able to do that?
we can definitely try to
Maybe.
prioritize. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lucas.
I was gonna say maybe let's go over the agenda and try to get the ones that we can done, and otherwise maybe we can stay in a bit more. But hi, Cindy, welcome. But I don't think we could take over the whole thing. I'm volunteering to stay 1 hour later and work on those.
I'll stay longer if needed, but again, at that point, do we have quorum?
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
let's just dive in and circle through things. But still, we shouldn't start, right, Tex? We still are missing.
Yeah, we'll give it another few minutes here, and I
Okay.
will pull up the information I'm trying to share as we are working that. So
You want to share? You're going to share your screen, or I have everything up here as well if you want.
I'm just getting it into ClickUp here. So if you want to pull up ClickUp.
Okay. I had just a screenshot that we worked on to prepare the agenda. Is that going to be okay, or?
You can. The only reason I'm putting it into ClickUp is to continue to follow the process that we established. So
Okay.
you're in charge. You tell me.
Okay. Just to keep it floating around on my screen, maybe it's a bit more readable to have this simple version.
Okay.
But is that okay? Is this complete still?
Like I said, you're in control here.
Okay.
So no trouble at all. Not going to get a fight from me.
So yeah, let me know when we have quorum though, so we can formally start. But so just to respond to what we were just talking about with Johnny, in terms of priorities for today, we wanted to go over a few things, including this budget proposal reviews, just to orient everyone. And to help someone that has joined, meanwhile, we are going to try to push what we can in here. But we wanted to go over other topics as well. Tex, do you think we should also stand by for Christian or?
No. So
Okay.
yeah,
That's okay.
I'm not going to release more than I should, but
Busy days, that's fine.
yeah, he's in a direct care function, and looks like things are still projected for this weekend. But no, he's out of office today. So
Okay, that's good news. So, great stuff. Welcome, Adam. We're jumping right in because we have a packed schedule. So I'm just gonna sort of fly over a number of things. Cheers. So yeah, so the main things that we have in terms of old business or work in hand that we have are these ones. Just to orient you guys, I've opened up some windows here. So let me just find the one relating to the budget. So there's this. Actually, if you want to orient yourselves asynchronously, I dropped all this on the our internal channel. So you have all the links here gathered. And it's exactly from these that I opened some windows right now. So sorry, there's this document that Tex shared, and it's really just the overall framing of things and what's going to happen when. And somewhere in here is the fact that we need to provide some reviews of things. And so I think it's referring to this one, or yeah, jumping right into actual work. So we have the list of proposals that were submitted that somewhat align with the open source committee. And you can see there, they requested our committee, or they were sort of aligned towards us. Guys, I'm not really checking the chat, so if you want to jump in, please be my guest. So, and then from these items, we should produce one quick report review for each proposal. So, Tex, I'm not sure when you said some of these are due in 3 hours. Can you paint which, or?
Yeah, so I already have, and I just realized I missed a couple actually. So we go to not that one, everything from here. So just this is rather unfortunate based on our biweekly, but everything that is highlighted in orange is up for discussion in the two sessions, the two workshop sessions that are today. And when I say up for discussion, I mean it's up for presentation. So an initial review is helpful, and a follow-up review based on anybody who attends who can hear that information. I mean, that gives you all more to decide. I can make my own thoughts about it, but I can't make decisions for the committee. So if you're not able to attend, I highly suggest watching back. I did throw some names on there if that would help, but obviously there's a ton of proposals and a ton of things. We are at quorum, by the way. We're just at 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so today well, actually, I'm sorry, marketing and innovation has already occurred, so I can actually take those ones out per se. But everything that is research, governance support, or no category is what's in the calls today. Let me fix that.
Actually, this was where I misunderstood. I thought we were only reviewing core. So my apologies. That's why I thought I had more time, because I thought we were only going to be focusing on the core workshop. Yeah, omission by mistake on my part.
Yeah, if you can see here, I'm sorry, Lucas. I've got this tagged where open source was explicitly called out in that proposal.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so that's the one item that we have that we're going to try to circle back to after we look at the whole agenda. Just in terms of the developer advocate program, I'm just going to say there's also a section there on our channel. There's some links, and if it's not a priority, let's completely skip it for today. But there's some people in the committee have already dropped feedback here. I am lacking here, and yeah, Tex.
Yeah, I'll just hop in on this one here. I'm going to step up to my failed commitment. I did not get a meeting up this week. If anything, we can call it what we will. You want to call it a failure, call it a failure. If you want to call that me trying to help everyone out, then I'll try to help everyone out. I've got my own list of meetings to attend to, and yes, this is important, but we have quite a bit through Q2 to work on. So we can pick up those async meetings, which were agreed to by a majority of the committee in the session last week. So I apologize that there's not one this week, but I will pick that back up, and hopefully that's feasible for you all, being that I'll try to schedule those on the off weeks from the committee meetings. That way you guys still have time to plan around for your async work and whatnot. But thanks.
Okay. So while you were finishing that point, I've already started flashing here a bit about the next point, which is the committee elections. And for this one, I've also dropped on Discord the link to all the spaces that are going to happen. And keep a lookout. If you haven't still, we can probe who has applied. Have a look. I've also invited everyone that is running for OSC to drop things in the public channel that we have, and we have some of them doing that proof of community here, so it's nice to see that. So, and by the way, if anyone of the applicants is watching us synchronously, come by our calls whenever you can. we'll be happy to have a word, except for our typical agenda. So yeah, get in touch overall and show up on this channel if you can.
If you don't mind on Discord there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I was just going to have you scroll back to the top if possible on the left side.
The public one?
No, on the channels.
Okay.
Town Square. So we're going to go down just a little bit. Town Square. And then, okay, it's right there. It should say Intersect Elections campaigns. Yeah.
Okay.
So here's another channel to check out, as various members may be coming to post their introductions here. This is for all of the Intersect committees. So I apologize that that's not specific, but there's another campaign channel just so you're not missing anywhere where members may go to post. So
yeah, I have been keeping a look on this one, and I for example, this is Elaine. We've met her on the open calls on X, and so I've forwarded this to our channel and vice versa. So yeah, it's a good thing to point out, and I will try to circle between both of them. Alex?
Thank you. Maybe you can share the link to the slides for the developer advocate program so we could review them.
The thing is, these are being shared between members of the committee to
Okay, fair enough.
members of the committee to give feedback on it. But it's good that you are here, and exactly like I've been asking to keep in touch with what's happening in the committee overall. For today, I'm not sure if so yeah, like I said, we're gathering feedback from the committee seats, not necessarily from the advocates themselves, but this is going to flow back to you guys, okay?
Yeah, so you don't need me today, I can drop off.
Well, today we're going to look into mainly the strategy and the budget reviews. So if you want to sit in, it would be good, and you can also jump in and share your views on anything on those points. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, gonna put these to the side for today, for the moment. This one to that side, and so we get to this point, which is the open source strategy. Tex shared this on our internal chat. But I'm just going to jump to the documents. So Tex, do you want to jump in and contextualize us a bit, please? Okay. But yeah, long story short, we have the document here to orient us, and we have this. I think we've spoken about this on previous calls. Tex?
Yes. So I was asked specifically to get the strategy working here. If there's an ability for us to get an explicit commitment asynchronously, I'm happy to move on to budget proposal review if that's more appealing to the group. But this was asked to be prioritized. So ideally, with time in the meeting, we would spend about another 20-25 minutes on this. Which is a lot of time. So if we can at least spend 15 minutes on this right now, I think that would be great. And then we can shift over and try to at least get a glance at those proposals.
I'd suggest maybe reducing that to like 5-7 minutes on this, just to orient people, make sure the async work is pipelined, and then jump on to the other ones. Thumbs up? No thumbs up. Okay. So yeah, this is the strategy that's been published. Thank you so much, guys. And we are fairly familiar with it. And the goal is that we start rewording it. So I'm guessing, can you tell us, Tex, where we got this title and this document for or from?
Yeah, so absolutely. Again, revisiting this, some of this we may have gone over when some of you joined the committee. Others of you that have been around for a while have seen this. This was originally ratified, if you will, back in April of last year. The main thing that is important is going to be the graphic that is on this page. So this graphic here, the idea is for this to stay and still be a guiding light for us. Sandeep, as he's kicking in here, would be the go-to resource on that initial portion of the other document. There's a survey that was ran ahead of time to help us develop this strategy, and those notes are still in there for anything that was not previously integrated. So utilizing the graphic here, the notes that Sandeep can give us more information on, and then also below the survey notes in the other document there, Lucas, is going to be the feedback from the developer advocate survey. I apologize if it's not polished. It's got literally all the direct survey results in a more readable format, as opposed to you having to pull up the published version. But the idea is to take the survey results and recommendations for improvement and to implement those into the strategy alongside, again, still the survey feedback that Sandeep can tell us about next.
Just one question before you jump to Sandeep. So these are just loose or like input for us, and this is the document that we're building on. But maybe we need a Google Doc that has this where we can co-author changes to it, right?
We have that. I'm pretty sure I included that in that same message.
Okay. Thank you. Sandeep?
Yeah, this feedback document, this was created based on the feedback that we got from several interviews. From the community members, Christian and I were in that interview. And from the feedback that we got, we prepared this document as a reference point. From there, certain points were taken in to build a strategy at that time. So what I would suggest is maybe we can schedule new interviews with the community members. There could be a selection process for that as well, and have community feedback at this point in time, now that we have, say, decentralized governance in place, and people's opinion and thoughts might have changed. So to get the latest feedback, I think would be useful in forming the next strategy for the open source. Yeah, on the context part, it was based on the interviews that we did. I can provide the template that we used for the interviews, and maybe that could be useful in setting the new interviews for this time.
Guys, any thoughts on this? Just meanwhile, I've gotten on screen the draft version that Text did share. I'm sorry for missing that link. So we did have the draft where we can collaborate, and there's the feedback. And regarding what Sandeep just shared, is everyone aligned? Adam?
Yeah, I guess I'm missing the real reason why we need to revise again the strategy that was already kind of adopted last year. Like, what is the impetus for needing to write or modify the document, really? Like, where is this coming from?
In this case, sorry, go ahead.
One of the things here is at the end of this strategy, there are different goals with metrics and action points. Are those going to be still relevant, most updated with the new goals, new metrics? I think that would be the important part of it.
Well, I mean, to be blunt, I've been on this committee since the beginning of 2024, and we've never actually done anything action-wise to actually take steps to implement this strategy or oversee the open source development of Cardano in any way. So I feel like we haven't even really begun to implement the strategy. Therefore, revisiting and now rewriting the strategy is just kind of needless bureaucracy to make somebody feel good about themselves. And I don't know who that is, but like it seems like a waste of time when we have a perfectly good document that still needs to be executed upon.
Maybe we can go through the document at least towards the end. Is the goals, are they still relevant for what we have achieved with the
Sandeep, do you mean the current strategy document?
The one that is published on the Intersect docs.
Yeah, it's the same one. So this one is the editable version on Google Doc format. So which section do you want me to scroll to?
One moment.
You mentioned goals. Is that it?
Yeah, it's on the Intersect page.
Goals is on the summary one.
Goals and actions. It's at the very
Goals and actions.
near the
Got it.
very end. Yeah.
You're not going to
Thank you.
get the workflow diagram in this editable thing.
Okay. Maybe I can pull it through somehow. Okay, guys,
go to the publish page.
I'm on the other screen trying to get the image. Guys, any thoughts on this? Sandeep?
Yeah, here we have goals by Q4 2024 and the rest of the 5 goals similar to that with different metrics. So first here we would need to have what we have achieved up to this point in time and what we want to by end of 2025, or at least the timing need to be there to have this goal to be smart. So I think this is something that need to be worked out. Maybe the other sections could still be.
Well, point
Can we
being that the entirety of Q4 2024 was hijacked by the budget process. And so none of these goals were reviewed or kept an eye on through Q3 and Q4 2024. So again, we don't even know what our status is on these goals because the budget process has capitalized all of our time, essentially. So
yeah, I was going to say, can we legitimately say that these 2024 goals have been met? The goals were filled. Thank you for that text. That's good to know. At least we're honest. So updating the strategy would be sort of dismissing previous goals as not met and new goals being made. Would that not be the case of carrying forward the previous goals into the current time frame because they weren't met previously, or what? Do we just abandon those goals from the past?
If I can jump in, and again, we just have a couple more minutes to orient people on whether we want to give input or not on this. But there seems to be some input here that Sandeep gathered, or I'm not sure. I would just invite you guys to have a look at this link and suggest any changes to this if you feel that they are necessary. Apart from that, we can just circulate. This is flow to the other things. Text.
Yeah, I take the feedback strongly. If there's a concern regarding the strategy overall that it may not need to be updated as much, I would just suggest that we just double check verbiage to make sure that there's nothing inherently wrong. But as far as the goals and actions, I would pose a suggestion that says, can we combine the previous 5 goals, or however many of those were not met, i.e. 2 of the 5, 3 of the 5, whatever, into one, reestablish that. And I would say either Q3 or Q4, give us more time than anything if we absolutely need it. And then we can consider adding in additional goals. There doesn't have to be 5. That could be as little as 3, let's say, adding in the developer experience and then the paid open source model as being the core function. So obviously we need to do what we didn't do last year. A lot of that's going to fall on me, I understand. We also need to focus on developer experience and what our strategy looks like that way. That could even be going into 2026. It does not have to be within 2025. And then, of course, the paid open source model and future implementation. So I know some of this is regurgitating the same information, but at least giving us a published format, just like we showed the goals last year when you guys were onboarded or shortly after, what Intersect or what the open source office is looking at doing in 2025. This is the same thing, but you guys are just self-monitoring, if you will, but you can change what that timeline is. It doesn't have to be constricted within 25. So we could say we want a fully functioning paid open source model by 2027. That totally works. Yes, that's budget dependent, but that would be a goal, a more appropriate one. So y'all give me your thoughts. I'm just making suggestions.
Anyone? Any more thoughts on this, Johnny?
I think one of the most important things to do would be to acknowledge any failures in the past instead of just rewriting strategies and making it look like nothing bad happened. So yeah, so maybe there's a separate document that should be like a review of the goals previously set and a snapshot in time of what they were. And then that would lead into like revised goals because things weren't met and carry forward things, to show that there's a reason for updating this document. Like it's the previous document says goals by Q4 2024, for example. So obviously that needs updated. But you could still have a copy of that in archive and reference it for any review of like failure to achieve.
Okay, guys, I'm, as you can see, just jumping around, trying to update things so we can move on to other things. I hope we've left it clear that we could work on this asynchronously. And to the questions of should we consider them done or not done, etc. Maybe we can chat on here on our internal channel or drop comments on the document. But for today, I think we've contextualized everyone on this. I've also dropped the link to the input document on the actual new draft and the image with source if you want to open it big and browse around. Can we move on for today and to look into proposals? Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, so coming back here, where did we have those? There. Okay, so as we discussed in the beginning of the call, sorry, I can't really see you guys now. I'm just going to bring over my windows on the other screen. There we go. So there's the ones that we need to prioritize. And any thoughts? I'm looking at the biggest.
So this is because there's a meeting happening today soon after this meeting, and this is focused on research governance and no category, so just ad hoc. And then they've selected us as the committee to be like the overseer of that auditing or whatever. Right. Okay, let's go.
The budgets, you should have, yeah, it's this one, right? I'm not sure. Sorry, never mind. If anyone doesn't have the link for the call happening later today, let us know. But it should be public enough. Adam?
Since we're being mandated to do work by a vague and diaphanous Intersect, has Intersect defined what's going to happen with these funds? Are they going to get added to our budget? Because one of these line items is like 50% of our currently proposed budget. Like, how does this work? Do we have to offset expenses from our previously proposed budget? Do these just get added and it makes it look like the committee is now requesting 20 million ADA? What does Intersect define for us in our role here?
Thanks.
Yeah. So the simplest answer to the question is if we were to endorse the proposal, then we would have the opportunity, if a revision was desired by the committee, to revise our proposal and include or a directive to point to those proposals. That's obviously quite a bit more work, quite a bit more involved. Does not have to be the exact step. As far as if it's accepted, right, it gets enough votes and the community wants it, it is considered part of the open source committee budget, but not specifically our committee created proposal. And I recognize that's conflicting words, but essentially we just become part of the oversight committee with Intersect as the administrator for that particular project or proposal rather.
Another way to put that would be the proposal itself is putting forward its own budget, being paid through its own budget, and has been authorized by the DREPs, but we're just administrating rather than having it as part of our budget. Is that correct?
Right. Essentially, the difference, especially because we've requested delegate authority, is that we are going to directly manage a bucket of funds relative to our paid open source model proposal, whereas the funds would be, in this case, managed directly by Intersect via the smart contract and the Intersect administration process. So, but
So
with our
we'd
proposal,
be running two parallel things then.
correct.
One being our thing, and the other being what has been put upon us by the DREP process.
Correct.
What fun!
Kirk?
I'm getting the impression that the open source committee is being co-opted for ulterior purposes here.
Well stated, that man. I was trying to be more subtle about that.
Guys, I'm just mostly facilitating. Jump in if you have thoughts. But are we questioning if we should be doing this today on this call? Are we doing this at all?
I question
Has-
being rushed to give very last minute, and maybe even if we had a week, it may not have been enough time to fully address like any concerns, raise questions, ask for revisions to proposals to be more. There's a very chaotic process going on at the moment that doesn't seem to be measured. Yeah, maybe I'm overstating it though.
Text?
The best way to put it would be lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part. So I'm not going to reorganize my day and rush to give reviews to proposals that I've never seen before just because somebody selected the open source committee from a dropdown and then somebody scheduled a meeting that's going to happen. Essentially, I feel like we're being mandated what our job just became, and as unpaid volunteers, that's not how any of this works.
So just before we go to text, I'm so sorry. I'm also on the page of, I don't think we're being asked to write definitive binding reviews on, because obviously we're not going to cover all of them in 2 hours. But what I would try to get as a facilitator from this call is that we are like at ease with the process. And I would be curious to look into some of these formats, especially this format, to make sure we can work synchronously on this. So that's my point of view. Tex?
I would say I'm not at ease with a process that has been ill-defined, but yeah, go ahead, Tex.
Yeah, so I was in the budget AMA call last night, which, if anybody's curious, they are not well attended. So Lloyd did go over essentially a snapshot of the process where we are right now. The things that I could tell you is if you have any ability or desire, if you can plan to attend any of the reconciliation workshops that will take place between May 1st and May 6th, it would be beneficial. The way that Lloyd phrased it last night is that if committees are present in those calls and can make an immediate decision, they can give their perspective on a yes or no. I don't know how this is supposed to work because there's obviously some expectations of having DREPs in these calls as well.
But wasn't the explicit thing not to have committees give an explicit yes or no because they shouldn't be the final authority and it should be DREP selected? It seems contradictory, a statement to say committees could give a definitive yes or no. That's not their role, according to the pivot.
There's also community members that are asking the question that you as committee members are asking yourself. Why is it right or proper that a committee is now forced to take on a proposal that they are not willing to oversee?
I'm glad the community understands.
So I don't expect any of you to take the time that I have attending these meetings or workshops or whichever. I have attended every workshop and I will continue to attend every workshop, which is the two that are today.
You have my greatest sympathy and empathy, sir. I'm sorry you have to go through that.
Well, I'll tell you, Monday night drive. But anyway, no, it's still very, very interesting. And at least the ones that took place last week were overgoing the process in general. There was a question that was posed. Unfortunately, it did not make it to the public light as of yet, as I was trying to discuss it in the AMA last night, but I'm still going to work on finding that. But yes, it essentially revolved around Intersect administrator, Intersect budget, Cardano budget, and like the differences in between and how intertwined everything is at this point, to where as has been clearly stated by not only the committee but also the community, there's some major clarity gaps in this entire process. So we're still trying to put it together as we can, and hopefully I'm not saying anything incorrectly. I'm just giving my view of everything that I've seen. So
it's okay. The weight of authority has been put on the DREPs without first coordinating with the DREPs how to wield that authority is the issue, right? It's been a rush process to make sure that legitimacy comes from the delegated voting stake. But then there's no formal procedure beyond here's a bunch of proposals, vote yes or no, and add a comment, which isn't really a formal procedure.
yeah, let me go after Lucas's
And
question.
also,
I'm sure
yes, there are meetings
growing.
that have been set up, but not all DREPs are attending. I will note.
Hold, please.
Sorry.
The DREPs part is something that we're not going to be able to, work on, right? DREPs are going to do whatever they want to do, unfortunately, or it's
Well, no, fortunately, they shouldn't be, just like committees shouldn't be dictated to what their role is. DREPs should have a better input into what their role is. I think there was a consultancy not done here on either side. But, this is an ongoing issue.
Sandeep.
Yes, I have a bit different opinion. If something is put on OSC to give a review, then I think being a part of the committee, it is at least our responsibility to have a look. Because it is about somebody asking funding from the Cardano, so treasury for certain project. Being on the committee of open source, I think it is a responsibility for us to at least have a look. And then just deny the responsibility that it's not our responsibility to do that. Just my opinion.
Lucas, you should be able to edit H through M. The rest of the sheet is locked.
Thank you. Guys, I understand your points and I share them, but it's not that I'm just trying to blindly comply or move on, but I am curious to get your feedback on these things, like just fly over them, discuss, and that's, I think, the most we could get from today. So if you still feel,
I
honestly,
propose that the open source committee vote that they do not endorse any of these the proposed budget items.
Just a blanket statement.
Yeah, I mean, I will happily go down and leave a personal comment saying no on each one if you'd like, if that will somehow be helpful to your process, but I can do it right now.
but I'm just a bit confused, Adam. But I see some like Pi Cardano option things that I think could be relevant to SC.
Yeah, and they should go through our tooling working group that will have budget as pursuant to our proposed budget process.
Okay, so yeah, I see Georg's seconds. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm going to pass it to text, and maybe we should run a vote. But it's up to you guys.
So I don't want to ask anyone to do any more work than necessary, but I can add tooling working group into the suggested category piece. The idea behind that, Lucas, if you can scroll back just a little bit here. Oh, nope, too far. Right here. So this endorsed proposal, you guys should be able to check the boxes in here, yes or no, and then leave notes. If you refresh, it should be good. I'll check on that here in a minute. Anyway, I'm going to fix the permissions so you guys can adjust this one here. If you want to mark a blanket no on everything, that's fine. But if there's if it's something that should go to the tooling working group, then I'll add that to suggested category. You put it as tooling working group. If it's something in the area of this number 14, lucid evolution maintenance, something that I noticed and I feel would probably be the sentiment of the committee, but I can't make this up for you, is anything that actually includes strict development or maintenance is not what we're looking for or not what we've put into the open source strategy, open source proposal, paid open source model, anything of that nature. So specifically on the basis that somebody is trying to fund maintenance or development of something that is not part of what we've already prescribed would be something that is either TSC, not applicable, or tooling working group. So that's the way that I would suggest putting some feedback here if that is applicable. If you guys want me to put my thoughts on this as to what you all might say, that's fine, but I don't want to do it and just so you guys have a glaze over, oh yeah, okay, that looks fine. I want to give some specifics, or I'm thinking it's better. I think it's better if the committee is able to give some specifics as to why they're not. You don't have to respond to everything either. So if you don't want to respond to anything, that's fine, but some things may require a response.
So yeah, we're getting this feedback from Adam. But Georg, you want to jump in, please?
I understand this whole thing to be something that is not on our, not something that we set out to do, and to be out of scope for what we wanted to do in the OSC. And so I understood Adam's proposal earlier to say, hey, this is out of scope for what we come together to do. There are processes. If you want OSC support on projects, on funding, please use those processes. And then we just leave it at that and move on to a different agenda item and stop discussing this spreadsheet.
The problem is that our proposal from the OSC with budgetary line items has to pass a DREP vote in order for it to become our process that was already predefined. We've been hijacked. There's no guarantee that our previous process, the one that you're referring to here, would actually continue to exist. And that's an existential thing.
Adam?
Well, I guess we're not quorate, so we can't actually do a vote today, right? Or are we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
You got 5.
Okay. Yeah, I propose that we do not review these because we have our own processes. How many are any of these guys in the contribution ladder right now? Are any of these proposals like submitting via the maintainer retainer program? Are any of them applying under the code for us? No, they're seeking separate outside of the open source committee budget, and they can stand or fail on their own without any endorsement or time spent from us that is not owed to them. It is where I stand. And so I would vote that we vote, and if you guys disagree, then that's fine. But that's where I'm firmly drawing a line in the sand on my time spent towards this process.
Yeah, just before any vote might occur, I'll give a statement. I'm not looking for a pat on the back or anything. I'm just advising what happened over the last, what's now 2 weeks. So this document or spreadsheet was created at the beginning of last week, and forgive me for when exactly I shared it with you all. I believe it was the middle of last week, because I don't think it was this week. This week was the strategy piece. The design was to make this as functional as possible for you all to review with those separate documents. We didn't have a meeting, so I didn't have time to explain that.
I don't think timing is the issue here.
Yeah, it's more about the need for the review at all, rather than the timing of not getting enough time to understand and engage with it. But that must be very upsetting because of the amount of time you put into creating it. So I apologize for that, Tex.
No, it's okay. I'll just slither back into my secretary shell here. So all good.
No. Just to recap, or if you will indulge me. So we're saying, what you're saying is that these guys should just apply through our standard things like the contribution ladder and etc. And just foreseeing a bit, if we don't endorse any of them, what will happen is that if they get funded, it's like outside of our committee's purview. Is that correct?
I mean, I don't know what actually happens to them. Like, apparently Intersect is going to include them in its proposed budget if they get sufficient DREP support one way or another, whether or not we endorse them or not. But I will not take ownership or responsibility of proposals that I do not explicitly endorse. So they can get money from however they get it, but if they're not going through the OSC established processes, then it becomes not our problem, in my opinion.
Okay, but we are also submitting a budget ourselves that has those tools. So
Well,
we're asking to just get
the difference in our budget is it's line items for styles or ideas or types of work rather than specific projects.
exactly. So we're
so
asking
that's-
for that capital, and then we'll manage it, and possibly still support these projects through there. Am I understanding this correct?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, almost all of those could apply, and then they would either meet one of the criterias for one of our proposed capital allocation programs, or they would not. And then they could be accepted or rejected based on the OSC managing the OSO management of those programs, like Code for Us, Maintainer, Retainer, etc.
And even if they were blindsided of a review process going through that budgetary process, there's still an on-chain parallel process of 100,000 data deposit go directly with the budget treasury proposal off the back of that. You know, there's a system parallel to the Intersect system that people seem to be forgetting.
Okay. Tex?
Just in case there's anybody on the committee who's not comfortable, coming from somebody who has seen in quite a bit more detail a majority of these proposals. These proposals are, again, more focused on funding a maintenance track, funding a development track, or funding operational costs for an organization or a project. All of those tracks differ from the developmental aspects of the paid open source model open source committee proposal. So I just wanted to give that clarity as to why there's this feeling or sentiment of no fit. I'm not trying to give you this idea of, hey, here's a blanket review of all the proposals and you should agree with what I say. That's not the point. I'm just telling you factually, I've looked at the breakdown on probably at least 50% of these proposals. They're asking for these different things. Here's why what we are doing is different, or why what we've suggested is different. And if that needs any more explanation, I'm happy to provide that. I just wanted to try to give that as a point of clarity.
Okay. Sandeep, just bear with me a second. I just want to clarify on my notes and for today's call, budget call text, I have this one, which is governance, research, and no category. Are we sure? I just wanted to bounce off you. Are you sure that these are going to be in today's call? Because I think we may have a
Yeah, because if you
You'll
look at the
see-
column
you'll
that
see-
says category, there's governance and research and everything, and then they just happen to choose. They're targeting the open source
Okay.
budget for some reason
Okay,
to
so
do
it's the bucket
governance,
thing.
research, and core development.
Okay.
This goes back to the chaotic nature of this process. People are
Hmm.
openly able to select what committee they believe should oversee them rather than
Okay.
it being, yeah.
Okay, I understand now. Sorry, I actually thought open source wasn't going to be mentioned here on today's call, but
That's what I thought too. And then I saw the spreadsheet, and I had seen the spreadsheet being built before, but I didn't realize that people were selecting open source outside of core. And I apologize for not noticing that prior, which is why we ended up with this 3 hours to go. There's going to be a meeting. We need to put a line out. I honestly don't think I could give it a qualified thought within that time frame. And I know it's been in existence for more than a week and a half.
okay.
But there has been other things.
No worries. So what I would suggest is, I understand your position, and yeah, let's have a vote on the blanket part of things, but let's have a look at these internally and flag any that we can suggest that they go through our typical, incubation or support frameworks. Okay. in whatever format you want. Because if these guys are reaching out or if they're flagging us, I would like to keep them in our radar as you know, they're also projects trying to find their way to reach support and to articulate with us. Okay, is that reasonable?
I mean, no, it's kind of completely counter to what I've proposed for a vote, in that we will not.
I'm not
spend
saying we
additional
endorse
time.
them, but okay.
No, I mean, I'm not planning on reading them. Like, we have our
And-
open source plan. Anybody that's not going through, hasn't read our plan and planning to go through those proposals, so they're running around us, does not warrant the time from the open source committee.
Okay, I think that's clear. I've made my point. You've made your point. Maybe we could go to a vote, but Georg?
Lucas, I like your idea to reach out to them and say, hey, we saw that you put the open source committee on here. We'd love to engage you. Please find, and then we provide a link to the process on how to engage with us, and we'd love to receive your proposal. And that way, we don't have to do anything else. We don't review anything. But we are still open to saying, hey, thank you for thinking of us. We'd love to work with you. Please follow our process. And then it's on them to submit their proposal if they even want to be engaged with us.
Okay, so thank you for that. And apparently, Adam, yeah, some people may not engage so much in this line of work, or let's just gather that from OSC members and take it asynchronously to see how we want to address it. But overall, we are doing that vote in terms of feeding back to Intersect and saying we are not endorsing all of that. Correct? Text?
What is the definition of the vote? How will it be worded? Maybe Adam.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just typing up a little kind of draft blanket response that we can make that's aligned with kind of what Jörg was saying. We can just give them a blanket, hey, here's the programs that we have. If you feel like you could match into one of them, by all means, here's the form, and then we can see where you fit inside of the current proposed open source office and open source committee framework. Yeah, so my motion is that we as a committee vote to not endorse any open source flagged proposal that is outside of our own committee proposed budget. So that we will not endorse or necessarily oppose anything. We're just allowing them to exist and shoot their shot to the DREPs as they may.
Take a neutral stance without commentary from the open source committee, and with the open source committee saying that we already have an established process if you also want to go down that path.
Yeah, and inviting them all to see and apply under one of the existing open source committee processes.
I'm happier with a neutral stance than a blanket no. So if that's the suggested vote, take a neutral stance. Say we can't endorse nor deny any of these, and just let it exist as it is.
Guys,
yeah, so Jörg has a really good language in there. The OSC declined commenting on any proposal that has not gone through the OSC processes. We encourage any proposers to pursue support through the OSC programs. Yeah, I will second that as the official language if we want to move to vote on that. But
okay, so I think what you just said is being recorded. So let's phrase that, drop it on Discord. Members can vote there. I would, from the people in the call today, keep in mind it's for OSC seats to vote. Anyone else can opine in there in our internal channel. It's just because it's a bit more binding that thumbs up here or a poll on a Google Meet that's going to be closed. Would you agree with that?
yeah, and I'm happy to put it into the channel personally as well as the person recommending it.
Okay, Tex, can anyone create a poll then afterwards, just to make sure we gather all the votes, yes and no?
I
Could
believe
you do
polls are
that?
open. I will check that, but I just wanted to clarify the OSC internal channel is exactly that. It is internal. So it is just the voting members of the committee. And then the other thing that I was going to mention, because this may or could be commented on a number of different proposals, if you guys don't want to leave any comments, then we just publish this on our Gitbook and we would direct to that anytime that we're asked about it. But if we want to comment a response on each proposal so that they know that the OSC has given any consideration, I'd be the one going through that. And it would explicitly say we have not reviewed and this is our stance. I just wanted to address that declined commenting, because that would be invalidated on the moment that we do that. So
I think we're at the stage where we're still going to vote on it as members.
Yeah, it hasn't been defined, but I would say decline commenting on the specifics of any proposal rather than on any proposal, because then what you're doing is commenting that you're not going to go further than this comment.
right point exactly.
Okay, are we all aligned then?
Yep, and I already proposed it in the OSC internal chat
I'll
on
go
Discord.
vote.
I don't have a lightning emoji, so I would give you one of those, like.
Go OSC internal. Oh, I think I've left my mic live. Sorry, I'm just going to live vote right now.
Okay, guys, I think that was the agenda for today. There is some missing things, or a fairly substantial amount of them. While you're in the channel, scroll up and down. For the ones that you do identify with as your mandate in here, or as your remit, I'm sorry, not sure what the term to use, but let's continue asynchronously. If anyone wants to add anything.
Adam, can you just add the specifics part in there? Commenting on specifics of any proposal?
On the specifics of any proposal, yeah. Adam.
Oh, yeah, I'm on it. So the OSC declines commenting on the specifics of
Any proposal that has not
any
gone through.
proposal that has not gone through the OSC processes. We encourage any proposers to pursue support through the OSC programs. All right, and then I need to find a thumbs down reaction here.
I would just suggest that there be a slightly different comment that we provide for FusionFi and rewards calculation, because those have been through our process. So I cannot, in good faith, put this comment on those proposals.
If they've gone through our process, did we have any official line to take previously, and can that be reused, or has it not been reviewed properly?
Haven't they already been rejected from our process?
Yes.
So, I mean,
Reuse
why
that.
do we need to ask then? Like, it's clear that we are not going to endorse those, or
So-
even explicitly say no towards those.
So we'll just abstain from those specifically. If they've been through, then we'll not respond.
Yeah.
Or we can say they've gone through our process and at the time we did not accept them.
Yeah, I mean, that is what happened. And if the other comments say decline commenting on the specifics of any proposal that has not going through, it behooves us to say what the previous statement was on a proposal that did. So I would refer back to any previous decisions so that it shows that we are commenting on proposals that have gone through.
And note, Jörg does not have access to that channel in Discord text.
Yeah, I was following up on that. I'm gonna drop his handle here.
Can you give a verbal yay or nay on the call here, Jörg?
I can fix that momentarily. Hang on.
Well, Jörg drafted the statement that I then proposed. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
that's fair. I'm pretty sure he endorses it. that thumbs down, is that thumbs down an actual vote?
It's a placeholder, I think.
No,
Is there
it's how you do,
Jörg is there now.
it if you're submitting a reaction poll on Discord, is you give people the two emojis. So I, as the proposer, put a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Because it's clear
Okay.
that I clearly agree, but I'm providing the thumbs down so that anybody that is opposed to it can react accordingly.
Okay, so that thumbs down needs to be -1 whenever it's actually finally reviewed then.
Yeah, correct.
Cool. It's on a recording on YouTube that this is the method. So we're currently 5-0.
So you can see what I'm typing, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to do the same, okay? Just put a thumbs up and thumbs down, as this is what I'm asking or suggesting that you guys do. So just so we could get the sentiment of who's intending to do that, and just share any feedback. If you identify option or PyCardano or whatever, you drop them here and say, okay, this proposal could go there, this proposal could go there, and then I will try to pipeline those remarks to the submitters of those proposals. Okay.
Okay, so asking individual community members if they're so inclined, they're free to review them and then maybe try to identify which program would be a best fit
Yeah.
for a particular proposal.
I reworded it to triage, so it's not
Yeah.
just triage, not a review, not an endorsement. Just say, okay, guys, because I feel like we sort of, I'm going to say, we sort of owe that to the community somehow in terms of we're out there being the open source committee. So if there's genuine proposals that we think would be very welcome to do that, we could help orient them towards our support framework. Anyone else? Okay, Georg is just adding on the chat that he won't have time to do that, but yeah, maybe he can do a second pass on what we do, or we just do whatever comes up in terms of our input to that initiative. Guys, we're over time, so it was, I would say, very productive in the sense that at least we had a debate, we got conclusions. If that's, and no one else has anything to add, let's keep in touch synchronously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.